Not today.
I'm here. You can tell me anything.
I see you. We're in this together.
Breakthroughs are happening.
Treatments are evolving.
The stats can change.
Society can change.
We can all say, not today.
Not today.
Not today.
Not today.
Not today.
If we're together, bound to be better. When we're together, together.
Hi, welcome to Leftovers. I am Granny Lisa, and I have Andrew, Beckey, aka Canadian Bacon, and LA. And LA's mic is off, so we'll just wait till she wants to turn it on. She's driving. And so, what we're going to do tonight is episode 2, and it is should have, could have, or would have. But if I'm wrong on that, it's going to be put in alphabetical order with Beckey. And she is going to start the show and give it some direction tonight. And we'll start with Beckey. Go ahead, Beckey. Tell us who you are and how you are part of the Leftovers.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for having me. I'm blessed and honored to be part of this group. So unfortunately, it's a club I do not want to be in, but because I'm in it, I'm here.
Yeah.
So a little bit about me. Andrew is my son, and in December of 2022, his dad, my husband, left for work and took his life. So we became a family of survivors. And he was in the military. He was in the Air Force from 90 until 99. So he was a vet, and he was considered a disabled vet as well. And so that's kind of a little bit about our background. And if you see the Canadian flag, it's because I am from Canada. So I moved to the States to marry an airman, and that's kind of where my story began with him. But we, Kelly and I, had Andrew. He's our second son. And Andrew, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, so my name is Andrew. Like she said before, I am a survivor of suicide. My father did commit suicide. I can't describe what I saw, like, in words.
No.
But yeah, that's why I'm part of this group.
Yep, that makes sense. And then LA's driving, and if LA can hear us, I don't know if she has time to introduce herself, but we'll ask her if she can hear us. LA, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you give us a little introduction and say,
Sure.
You're a veteran, correct?
Yes, I am. I'm a Navy veteran, disabled veteran status. I served in the Navy during the Gulf War era, and I married another airman, and his name was Russell. And he also committed suicide in 2011. And I think that's hence the name of our show, the Coulda, Woulda, Shouldas, or the Coulda, Shoulda, Wouldas, because what happens when a loved one takes their life, it leaves us confused and a lot of guilt and shame. So I'm here to support everyone. I'm also a therapist. I have a master's degree in positive psychology, recreation therapist here in Texas.
Awesome. Thank you for coming. And then I am Granny Lisa. My husband was in the Army. He was National Guard, and he committed suicide in 2015 in our home. And so it has definitely affected me. And so we started the Leftovers has a project. We're doing 12 series, and then we'll take it from there. And but we're going to record these, awesome, and we're going to present them to the National Guards. One of the higher tops challenged me to be able to do this so that it could be shared with the National Guards and reserves, because when they come back from warfare, which, you know, this was the pretty much the biggest time that they did was during, you know, this long wars. They didn't get any kind of outgoing. They just came home, did their paperwork, and went home. They didn't get any kind of counseling. They didn't qualify for any counseling. And so they basically were told, go back to work. We'll see you later. And so we are hoping to support not only our National Guards and reserves, but also try to prevent suicide by any veteran or any person by letting them know the truth of what your loved ones go through, and that's the leftovers. And so we will be very blunt. This is not for children to be watching. Emotions can go high. Andrew has permission to be here. He is also under counseling care. So don't anybody worry about him. He knows what to do and how to do it. If he's uncomfortable or doesn't want to share, he doesn't have to. So on that, I'm going to hand it back over to Beckey. Let's take it away.
Okay, so the name of the show is Shoulda, Coulda, Woulda, or Should Have, Could Have, Would Have. But I'm going to do it alphabetically because that's just me. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go around and I'm going to start with one word, one part of that. And then we all have a what we should have done, what we could have done, what we would have done. Now, hindsight being 2020. So I'm actually going to start with Andrew because he's the youngest in the group here. And I think that his input on a lot of this actually is a very unique one. And that's why, as mom, I am okay with him being here. I gave him the choice and he stepped up to the plate. And I am very appreciative that he did because
yes,
he has a different insight than I do, than Granny does, than LA does. So, Andrew, we're going to start with could have. And you have an interesting backstory on this that I didn't even have with your dad. So, what is your could have?
I want to say my could have was trying to get him into any kind of counseling, whether Christian or not. And also just having as much support in prayer as possible. And also another thing was just trying to pull him out of that car. That's something that's been tugging on my mind.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again? Pulling him out of the car?
Like, at least trying to influence him away from work, because we were already trying to get him into another job beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So, Andrew's dad took his life on his way to work. So he worked midnights. He was on his way to work, and he basically got to the end of our community that we just moved into, and he got out of his car. He did 3 videos, got out of his car, and walked to the other side of the trees and did it there. So when Andrew's saying out of the car, I think his purpose, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you would have pulled, like, not allowed him to get in the car to go to work that night.
Yes.
So. Yeah, makes sense. Yes.
So, Granny, with your situation, what is your could have?
I have, my could have is when a few days before Christmas, Terry had a breakdown. And so we went to the doctor, and the crisis team was in the room with us. And they wanted to take him to their facility and start taking him off. I don't even know how many drugs he was on, but he was on quite a few drugs. And they were switching him every month on different drugs. And so that was their recommendation. Terry started crying, and he had said no, he didn't want to do that, but I was the one that was in charge, and he didn't really have a say so anymore. Then he said, I promise I won't do anything. And he has never, ever, during our time together, we were together for 12 years and married for 10. He never promised anything that he didn't keep. When he said he promised, that was done deal. And so I was going by his promise instead of looking at his condition. And so with that promise, I made the decision that he would come home, and then after Christmas, he would go in to the facility. And after Christmas, that's when he did it. So he did it on the 29th of December. So that would have been I could have stopped him at that moment.
Mm-hmm. You could have had him put in the situation.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I live with that decision because it was my decision, because I wasn't going through the crisis that he was.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but his promise though was he wouldn't do it at all, or he wouldn't do anything at all, or it was just before Christmas?
No, he said he wouldn't do anything. I promise I won't do anything. Okay. And so I took it that he's not going to do anything until he gets into, the plan was he would go into the facility, mm-hmm. detox off of all the different drugs, and then start him on one instead of all these different ones. And then have counseling and see how he did, because he wasn't even on a drug long enough before they switched him around. Mm-hmm. And that I was on, I have PTSD and those issues too, but what they did to him was completely different than what I had done. So I was always questioning, how come he's on so many drugs? Why do you keep changing them? You're not even giving him enough chance to work. And, basically I was, just the female,
irrational wife.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. And here we are.
LA, are you in a position where you could talk? You can nod yes or no.
Yes, okay. Give me just one moment, okay?
No, you're good.
All right, why don't you do?
I'll do mine, and then LA, when you turn your mic off, and when I'm done, you can, or you can just raise your hand or say whatever. Anyway, my could have is this: the night that Kelly took his life, actually, even leading up to before that, he only reached out to me a few times, and one night he asked me to pray with him, and I'm not a prayer person that prays out loud, and I prayed with him. I held his hands, and that was probably about 2 or 3 weeks beforehand. And then the night that he left for work and committed suicide, I had given him a hug before he walked out the door, And I said, I need you to go to the doctor. I need you to get put on some medication because the house isn't happy right now. And or something to that effect, because our Christmas tree had been up since Thanksgiving, and it was December 13th, and there were no decorations on it. It was just a pre-lit tree, and that was the only thing that was in the living room. So I could have stopped him from moving forward. So I thought, or I could have stopped him from taking his 9mm to work with him, although where he was driving wasn't necessarily the safest place to go. So with those could haves, for me, it's tricky because he talked to the kids more than he talked to me. He talked to his mom more than he talked to me. And
He talked
that
to
was kind of the
me
hard
more
part.
than her.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
for my could have, those are kind of where we are. But Miss LA, you are off your mic, so go for it. What is your could have?
Oh, well, I will say that my story happened way before his suicide. In fact, it was about 4 years prior when my husband was drunk driving and he became paralyzed in a car accident. And I was very, very resentful and very angry with him. I was his only caretaker. I wasn't fit to be a caretaker for my big, strong husband. We went through a lot of classes and all of the things that require care for a paraplegic, and I wasn't emotionally stable. And so we did not have a happy marriage. And he had threatened suicide throughout the years. We were together almost 18 years. And I think I would just say right now that I would have took that more seriously. That would be my could have or should have. But then one day he had enough pain. He couldn't get the services he wanted. We did not have VA benefits at that time. And he always kept a gun strapped underneath the wheelchair. And he just rolled out into the garage and took his own life.
Mm.
So I think that I blamed myself. Of course, I blamed him, but I blamed myself more. And it took me years to get over that resentment and that anger prior to his suicide. And I think that I could have perhaps made a difference if I was more accepting of him becoming disabled. So I had a lot of guilt and shame.
Mm-hmm.
And it took years of therapy to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
I became a homeless drug addict. And then finally I went to the VA for help. And I'm now a therapist, and I help troubled youth, veterans, and others with mental health issues. So that old cliche about if I could just save one person, it would all be worth it. So that's how I'm living my life right now.
First, and let me just say this. Thank you for what you do now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Because for someone who has had to find therapy for a family of 3 at Christmas time, we had one therapist who did it pro bono, and then the second therapist for me, she's a veteran. So that for me helps, knowing that she understands a little bit more about what's going on. So, it does help. And I don't ever tout that I was a military wife, because he got out 8 months after we got married. So I can't ever claim that. But yeah, so I thank you for what you do.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. But since you're off of mic, or you're off your mic right now, or you're on your mic, do you want to do the next one, which is should have? And that way, if you're driving, or do you want to think about it?
Well, I think I already did it, where I should have, I should have been given him more grace. I shouldn't have been so angry at him when he was drunk driving. I shouldn't have been resentful as fuck when I had to take care of him. I had to do digital stim. He didn't have control over his bodily functions. He wet the bed all the time. We had to rip our house apart and put an elevator in. Like, it was just insane, all of the trials and tribulations that happened before he took his own life. And so I realize now not to blame myself, but I blame myself for years and years and years. And 7 years ago, I became clean and sober.
Congratulations.
And that's when I started going back to school and trying to help other people. So I think that that's my biggest shoulda, woulda, coulda is, you know, I shouldn't have been so resentful.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was even more resentful after he took his own life. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll leave it at that.
That's, you know what, you hit all three of them, so you're good. Thank you so much. I know you're driving, so I don't want to keep you, having to stop and stuff like that. So
well,
you
that's
basically
okay.
did everything.
Yeah,
but,
well, I just want to say this, that I am driving. I am here to support your mission and your cause, and I am here for everybody in the room. If we need to go off into a side room to talk or to just debrief something, I'm here. So that's my function here as well. So you all get to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Granny, do you want to go ahead and do your should haves?
Yes, I can do that. Okay. I should have known better.
Mm-hmm.
I should have made a decision that wasn't based on his promises. I should have stayed longer in the room with his body and said goodbye to him and took that time. I didn't realize that I would not see him again after that. And so that really bothered me. I could have, I should have been able to, kiss him goodbye or just touch his skin. That last moment,
Mm-hmm.
I should have had that, and I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I just should have. I should have just paid attention.
Mm-hmm.
I should have paid attention, and I didn't. When he came down the stairs, he seemed like his old self. I make the comment all the time. It's like I had my Terry back. He was up early. He was happy. He got the coffee. He gave me a hug and a kiss. And I should have known, and I didn't. I didn't know that that when people that are ready to commit suicide will be at peace and happy about their decision.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a big, big sign, is when you have been suffering for over a year with your partner of such emotional distress and PTSD and nightmares and just all the crap. I should have known. I should have known when he finally came down that you don't just wake up one day and you're good.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
doesn't happen. And that's what I should have known.
Mm-hmm. Andrew, do you want to go now or do you want me to go first?
You can go. I still need to think a little bit.
Okay. So for my should have, and Andrew knows part of this, but he doesn't know all of this. But for at one point in time in my marriage, Kelly had told me, and that was my husband, he had told me that there was a family history of mental illness. And I should have taken it a little bit more seriously than I did. But I think in the back of my mind, I went, okay, the military did all these screenings on him. He should have been good. He should have, he passed everything. He, working with satellites, he worked on the jet engines and stuff like that. So he should have been good. But when you fast forward it a few years after he got out, he made a comment, and I think this was after my oldest son was born. He made a comment to me about like child support or alimony. And he had said, if I ever have to pay that, I'll just kill myself. Still did not take that seriously, because it was so flippant in how he said it. Never would have thought ever in a million years that this would happen, because that was the only other time he's actually used those words.
Mm-hmm.
Then I fast forward to, September of 2022, and he's starting to act a little weird. So one of the should-haves with that is he looked at me one day and he said, if we had to live in a box, would you be okay? And I'm like, we're not going to lose the house. We're going to be fine because we just moved in. He goes, that's not what I asked you. If we had to live in a box, would you still love me? And I went, of course. But hindsight being 2020, he is in a box right now, even though he used those words. So I should have caught on to that, but I didn't, because for me, it was a financial thing. It was like he was doing a lot of things financially. And I should have caught on to a lot of it. And then 2 weeks before he did it, we were at a concert, and we were at a Casting Crowns concert, because he became very, very into his religion. He had found Jesus. He had been baptized. He only listened to Christian music. He was for Christmas, he wanted a special cross that I ordered for him and buried with him. Like, I never gave it to him. He was just buried with it. And so I should have seen a lot of those signs when talking to him, but he didn't show everything to me. He showed it to his mom. He showed it to the kids a little bit obviously in a different way, but he never showed it to me. And my husband was an introvert. I'm a super duper extrovert. So I don't know that he ever figured out how he could have spoken to me about it entirely. And I don't know that I honestly don't know that I could have received it either. And that's just one of those, I should have been able to receive it. I should have been able to hear. I should have been able to see what was going on. Yes, I could see it, but I never would have ever imagined that I would be sitting here right now tonight having this conversation. So that's a big should have for me, is I should have caught it. But hindsight being 2020, you're always going to catch it and go, I should have caught that. Should have done this. I should have had him committed. I should have done this. And I said that afterwards. I didn't feel guilty about anything. That's one thing. I never had any guilt. I was very mad, but I never had the guilt. I knew I should have had him committed. If I had realized that he was where he was, I would have had him committed, but I just didn't know. I didn't see it. And the sun, the stars, and the moon rose and set around this man in my world. In my rose-colored glasses, that's how I saw everything. So, yeah. It was a little...
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's it.
Well, you brought up something that was really interesting, because Terry said something very similar to me. One night he said, what if we just leave this all behind and start over? And I said, well, why do we want, where are we going to go? Because I'm pretty adventurous. And I said, well, where do you want to go? You want to get an RV and travel? Or you want to get a different house? What, you want to move to a different state? And he said, I don't know. It's just a hypothetical question.
Mm-hmm.
But I never connected it either. I just figured, well, maybe he just needs a change of scenery or something like that. And I'm adventurous. So, I answered truthfully, well, where do you want to go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's pretty much similar. If you go to live in a box, how would you, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. I just thought that was a comparison that similar things.
Yeah. And the funny thing is talking to other people who have experienced this. I think we have a lot of very similar experiences, even if they're not military. I know our focus is on the vets, but it may not be just that. So there are a lot of, similarities with someone who actually does complete. So,
Right.
yeah. Andrew, what are your should haves?
One of my should haves is, I guess, relieve a lot of stress on him because he was also very adamant on me getting good grades, and back then I was awful.
Mm.
And I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. I was very bad with that. Another thing is for all the nights that I spent with him, I had this going through my mind just often right after he had done this. It's just I should have caught on. I should have known. And one of the things he said was, "You guys will be okay if I'm gone because you have my life insurance." And then there was another thing he said. Can't remember what that was.
I have
I
a
just
question.
got it.
I have a
Yes.
question for you. Do
hmm
you have any should haves where you feel like you should have told me?
No, and the reason is because I thought he had already told you,
Okay. Okay.
and I wish I caught on to that as well.
hmm
But I mean,
Well, a conversation between a husband and wife are never going to go to the kids to that degree. So, yeah.
Yeah,
But,
I can see
being,
that. Yeah.
yeah. But if there were any kids out, like teenagers that are ever listening to these videos, if you are having these conversations with a parent, you need to tell the other parent or an adult. You just need to tell
please,
somebody because as Andrew and I are both saying this, I didn't know those conversations were going on with Andrew, and I didn't know that it had gone to such a length.
you need that extra line of communication because otherwise you may lose that one side right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely one of those things that just a little side note, if you have a conversation with anybody, parent, friend, whatever, and you hear anything that makes you think that they're going to hurt themselves, you have to say something to somebody, a trusted adult, just to make sure that someone knows. Andrew could have even gone to our pastors because I had even suggested that, talk to our pastors. And I had done that a few times. And they had been reaching out
Didn't
to my
he do
husband
that
too.
like a couple
He did
days before?
at the
Yeah.
ugly Christmas the ugly sweater party. He did,
Yeah.
but it wasn't enough for like he needed to take that step further
hmm
and find counseling. And I had suggested that the night he committed suicide. So yeah, it's one of those that's a shoulda. You
Yeah.
should have done this. I should have done this. So
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like Andrew had more of a intimate conversation
hmm
about what he was thinking and feeling instead of you. And
hmm
so, he's left with well, it sounds like with me and him, the guilt
hmm
because we were seeing it, we were hearing it. And so the should have lays heavier on us.
hmm
There were too
But
many nights where I saw him just crying on the couch, and those were the nights that I comforted him.
mhm.
and
And you
see, I
were being,
didn't get that.
yeah, you were put in a position of being an adult. And I'm sorry that that happened to you. But let me ask you, if he didn't share that with you,
Andrew, just tell him to go away.
Kyle,
Go ahead.
please just go.
okay, it's fine. So if he hadn't told you any of that, would you have still been like, why didn't he talk to me? I mean, does that make sense? You know, I was sitting right there next to him. We were watching TV. Why didn't he say something to me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm thinking, what would the other questions be?
Because it could have easily been reversed.
Yeah.
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 And then you would be like, I was right there, and he never said a word to me.
And I mean, you were. There were nights where right when you went up to bed, I would go up to him and then we'd have that conversation.
Mm-hmm. But he never had
He,
those conversations with me.
hmm
And you didn't know that, which is, it's understandable because you're not
Yeah.
going to. You're
hmm
16. You shouldn't know this stuff.
No,
You should know. Andrew, I'm going to say this to you and every other kid, that you should not ever be sitting where you are right now.
Oh,
Right.
believe me, I know.
But I'm telling you this as your mom. You should never have been put in that situation. Your brother never should have been put in that situation. It is not fair that you two had to carry that burden and
Mm-hmm.
the aftermath of it. So there's a lot of,
Even Kyle was barely blanked. It was only me, really.
and but that's probably too because your dad and your brother are so similar.
hmm
So yeah, but kids should not be put in that situation at all. No one should be, honestly. But someone who's a juvenile should never have to be put in this situation. And
Mm-hmm.
you even have another aspect to it, which is you found your dad. So now you have that weighing heavily on you as well. And I, like that's the would haves for me. That for like there are things that I would have done differently at that point.
And
So
I had done that like connection thing, because I had touched his hand and stuff like that, just kind of feel him for the last time.
Yep.
mhm.
So yeah,
Well, and
Yeah.
the
and then
thing is,
that's when I looked up at him.
as difficult as it is to share about this, I think that because of the lack of communication about suicide, what happens to the individuals after the leftovers that we have to deal with, that I'm hoping that with Andrew's story, that other teenagers that may be experiencing what he did and what he's feeling afterwards, that even other veterans that are thinking about suicide will go, oh my gosh, I'm doing that to my son or to my daughter. And look at this poor kid. He's having this guilt that, like, you're a parent, you're saying you shouldn't have even had this.
Mhm.
As a mama bear, you're saying this.
Mhm.
But with your
Now, there's a flip
willingness,
side. There's a flip side to that, which is if Kelly wasn't telling me, if he hadn't have told Andrew, he wouldn't have told anybody.
mm-hmm.
So that's why I say that if a child is hearing this, they need to say something.
Absolutely.
And as much as I want to discourage an adult from having those conversations with their child because it's so gut wrenching.
Uh-huh.
If it happens, I'm okay with that. And
Right.
the reason I'm okay with it is because that gives that child the opportunity to save their parent,
Right.
save the adult, do what you need to do, but know that it is okay that you do that, regardless of how they react with you.
Right.
I don't care. You need to do this for you and your family so that you're not sitting where Andrew is right now.
Yep.
Everyone
So,
in the family has a important role.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do believe that. And that's the story that we want to get out tonight is the, should have, could have, would have,
Mm-hmm.
is because people don't talk about it. It's taboo.
Oh,
They don't even want to even admit, some families don't even want to admit that their child or their husband or wife committed suicide because, oh my gosh, it's a stain upon the family. And, he's going to, hell and all these, stigmas
Mm-hmm.
that go along with suicide. And then, you're left basically alone because of them, having to deal with them. And some people don't even know how to go about getting counseling. And so, like with Andrew here tonight, I just want to really stress the fact that your voice, even though I know you're having some difficulty in finding the words and sharing, it will make a difference. It will make a difference because this isn't going just into a file. This will be going to many people out there. And I just want to say to anybody that's listening to the show right now, if you could put into the comments, type hi, hello, any questions that you may have on, we did what? Could have, should have,
Should have,
and now,
could have, would have, any combination.
right. And I think our next one is would have.
Yes.
So there we go.
Granny, do you want to do that one?
Oh,
I can do it. I'll do my would have. Okay.
yes, do your would have. Thank you.
Okay. So my would have with Kelly, I would have had him committed. I would have had a lot of things. But the other thing too is that I would have been a little bit more prepared and pushed forward more when he was alive. One of the things that I had done is one of those seminars about, trusts and wills and things like that. We did have our wills done. Perfect. Even though they were old, it still held water. But the thing that I would have done is I would have made sure that we had planned for a funeral, because as the wife, I had to go into the funeral home and pick a casket. I didn't know how to do any of that. I would have had more knowledge on that. And that's what a lot of people don't have, because everybody avoids funerals or what you have to do when you have to bury somebody.
Something people don't think about is just, you don't plan for the unexpected. That's something people don't think about.
And Andrew knows that I prefer to plan for the unexpected. And he heard the conversation that I had with his dad one night before we even moved into this house, which was, you're 4 years older than I am. You're a man. You're probably going to die before I do, or you're going to be in long-term care. I need to make sure that I'm protected to live further on. And that was a conversation that we had had. I would have liked to have finished that process, because then it would have been that plan. Yes, I had the will, and yes, the will had where he wanted to be buried. It had details in there, but I would have liked to have had that plan a little bit more detailed, because it would have taken a lot of that anguish and stress off of me. Because here is the one thing, and this is, it's odd to say this, but I'm in a bunch of widow groups. I'm in one in particular. And when I first got into it, I said, guys, I'm in a totally different boat than you are. And they're like, well, no, you're a widow. And I said, okay, all of your husbands passed away due to long illness. And they go, yeah. I said, and they didn't take their lives, did they? And they go, no. I said, my husband took his life. He decided and made that unilateral decision. I didn't have a say in it, that he was going to go. I didn't get to say goodbye. I didn't get to do any of those things. And so, I look at it and I go, I'm in a different boat. And any wife or husband that is left after a suicide is left with those shoulda, woulda, couldas. What would I have done differently? What would I have said? What would I have done? And that's a lot of that guilt. Now, I have the wouldas, but I have no guilt. I don't have guilt because my husband chose this and he didn't consult me. So I don't have the guilt, because I couldn't talk him out of it because I didn't know he was going to do it.
Right.
So there's no guilt there. there's no guilt. I watched 3 videos that he did prior to, like, the night that he did it. Before he said goodbye to me, he did actually 2 videos and basically said, this is my last night on earth. I don't have guilt. I don't have guilt watching any of those videos anymore. I don't have any. I never have. I felt sad. I saw that he was pathetic. He was sad, and I saw an old man. And I hate to say it that way, but he wasn't the person that I was in love with now.
Right.
Back then, yes. But right now, no. He made
Right.
a decision, and it was a unilateral one. So with my wouldas, there's quite a few, because everybody is going to have a few of all of those. And they're
Right.
all going to be, they could all be the same for all you know.
Right. Or
But-
different. And that's the thing.
Exactly.
Is we wanted to have this subject because nobody's talked about it. I mean,
Yes.
publicly. And so, yeah, I think it's important that we do. And I don't know who you want to go next.
Granny, let's go to you, and we'll let Andrew kind of finish this,
Okay.
that his would have off, because, you know,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, I would have stopped him if I knew I could have
Mm-hmm.
or should have. I would
Mhm.
have stopped him. And the thing is this is what's so crazy, is I had stopped him on so many things, you
Mhm.
know, and yet you become, with me, I became entangled in this web. It was a crazy web, because the first time he always kept a Magnum, you know, in the dresser by the bed, you know, nightstand. And it was in a Velcro protective bracket, you know, safety holder and everything. So, you know, to open it, it had Velcro and it would make a loud noise. So one night I woke up to the Velcro opening, and he's standing, because I woke up and I look, and he's standing there with the, you know, his Magnum. And I said, what are you doing? Because it still didn't register in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Would I have gotten that registration in my mind? You know, I don't know, but I ended up taking the weapon. I ended up locking the gun cabinet. I had only access to it, you know, and it still didn't stop him.
Mm-hmm.
But I can relate to the would have. I knew everything. I knew everything about what he wanted. I knew what kind of casket he wanted, because he would talk about this stuff all the time. When
Mhm.
I die, I want to be in a pine box. When I die, I want this song to be played at my funeral. When I die, I want this, I want that. I mean, but it was like even from like halfway through our marriage, we talked about this, but he had a lot of people dying around him, family members.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was like, you know, it was like that preventive, you know,
Mhm.
conversation. But would I have known that he was just preparing me for what he wanted? And going to that funeral home and knowing what he wanted, it was very difficult, because I would have known, I would have stopped him.
Mm-hmm. Now, somebody pointed this out to me one day, and it kind of went, oh, dang, which is this. And, you know, for all the would haves that we have, I would have stopped him. I would have had him committed. I would have done this. If they were already dead set on doing this,
Yeah.
you probably could not have stopped them. You could have delayed it. but
That's
you
what I
couldn't
was
have
told.
stopped it.
Right.
So the purpose for this right now is to get to, I want to get to the hearts and minds of the people who haven't already made that decision yet. That
Exactly.
it's in the back of their minds, but they haven't made that decision. Or for the family members that someone did make that decision, regardless of what you did, that you can be okay. It
Mm-hmm.
takes time and you can't rush it. I'm
No.
weird in terms of I'm further ahead than most people, and most people think that I'm nuts to even have a chapter 2 already. But it is on your own time. But
Right.
you
There's
can.
no time limit on
There's no
guilt.
time limit.
I mean, death,
Yeah, and
grieving.
grief. Yeah. So, but I don't want to welcome anybody else into this club. If you have to join it, I will open my heart, open my arms, and everything else. But I don't want you here. I've said that to people who have cancer because I have had cancer twice. It's like, I will open my heart, I will open my arms, but I don't want you here because I know why you're here.
Well, we
So,
have a question when you're done. Don't let me forget.
okay. Well, let's answer the question and then Andrew can do his would have. Okay.
Okay. I think I'm saying this right. Nigel is asked, what did the military do to drive them to do this?
Okay, so for my husband's situation, Nigel, my husband had been out of the Air Force for 24 years. So for him, it wasn't necessarily driven by veterans or by the military per se. He never saw active duty. He was active duty, but he never saw action. He never saw war. The closest he came to it was he went to Saudi Arabia for 4 months before we were married. And that base had just been bombed like a year before or maybe a few months before. So that was probably the closest he ever came to active duty or military action. But so for my husband, for him, it wasn't a military driven thing. He just happened to be a veteran that had a family history of mental illness. Nobody in his family had ever committed suicide, so he was the first one. But I don't say that his was military driven. So, Lisa, what about yours?
He did, he was National Guard, and he did have some issues during the military. He grew up with a father that his mother and father, they had 2 sons, and his father chose the other son instead of him. And because of religion beliefs, since he wasn't part of that religion, he was considered dead to them. So he had lived with his mom, and she was a single mom dealing with, a lot of stuff in her life. And so when he did go into the military, he had some encounters with, he was a truck driver. And so there was a lot of partying when he was doing active duty. There was a lot of bullying. He was asked to do borderline things for the command. And he was kind of like this OCD type personality that he didn't cross lines. He didn't even like going into the warm part of the lines. And so he felt like he had to deny himself or else. And when he did say something he wasn't willing to do is because of that. And so it just kept piling up. Let's put it that way. It kept piling up. And that's where his active duty was really bad. Okay, Nigel says the reason I asked this, as I am involved in the UFO community, I wondered if they saw or witnessed things that they could not handle. I know that one. Do you?
For me, Kelly didn't necessarily witness anything. He was informed on one or two things that were, but he had the top security clearance, so he was good in terms of his clearance. But he actually did, and I just thought of this. He, in between jobs, he went to Afghanistan for 4 days.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that.
He went to Afghanistan for 4 days as a contractor, and he witnessed the bombing and the things like that. So that could have had something to do with it, but he wasn't military at that point. So
Yeah.
that might have been it. But I can't say that had any impact on him to that same degree. As for witnessing anything, honestly, Nigel, my husband really probably didn't witness anything. I think he was informed on things, but he never witnessed anything.
Okay, and Nigel, my husband, once he got out of the military, he was a over-the-road truck driver. And so he did see a few things. As to my knowledge, he never had any personal encounters, but he would see strange lights, and to the point where he would become a little bit paranoid, because there would be certain parts when he did over the road, there would be certain areas which would be more activity. And so it got to the point where he did not want to be out. And so he ended up changing jobs to where he was doing more of an area. You know, he had a designated area that he would drive. So, but I don't think he never said he had an actual encounter. He just did not like the fact of seeing things.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've been witnessing since 2014 and had encounters. Nigel, were you in the military, or are you a civilian? Because that's another question to ask about your sanity. So if you have questions about that and you're competent enough to type that and ask civilian, then I would say you might want to actually talk to somebody about that. Because if you are having questions about your sanity, it doesn't hurt to talk to a counselor. And let me just tell you that, okay, LA was here, but I've seen on Facebook where there's those BetterHelp where it's online, and you've got options. My family, we've been fortunate through our church that we've had 2 Christian counseling centers that we've gone to, and it has been a blessing for our family, because that's where our family has basically gone to. So, it doesn't hurt to talk to somebody. It really doesn't. And as an extrovert, talking is what I do. So.
Well, and then Nigel, we do have another podcast that we do that my producer right now, Peggy, she does this show, and it is Vets Coming Clean. Now that means that her and I are the vets, and the Coming Clean, what have you seen? And that is a podcast where we have people that, no matter what life is for them, that if they've encountered anything military or non-military, that it gives them a place to be in a safe environment, no judgmental, golly, I'm trying to think of,
no judgments.
Yeah, no judgments. It's just a time to share your story. Like you said, there was times that you felt you were losing it. Is that
Questions about sanity.
yeah, questions about sanity. And that's what we talk about because her and I have had encounters ourselves. And, there's just weird things out there. And so I do believe in the existence of aliens because in the Bible it talks about it. So why would I not believe the word of God? But I would say if you have a chance, get with Peggy. Maybe she can come on after the show with you. Oh, there she is. Peggy,
Hey, Gritty.
help me with Vets Coming Clean. What have you seen with Nigel real quick, if you could?
All right, Nigel, if you're interested, I will post it up in the chat. We have a website called Vets Coming Clean. We have a contact us page. If you're interested in being a guest on our show and coming on and telling us what you've seen and talk about your business or whatever, what you've seen has gotten you into your business, then feel free to go here and make a submission. And we will get back to you on our soonest date and opening we have. We also will have on the third Saturdays of the month what we call a mess call. It's going to be a support group, all of us that are doing podcasts, Vets Chatting with Granny Lisa, Vets Coming Clean, and Leftovers. We're going to be there, and it's going to be a support call. We've asked for help from mental health professionals out across the field to come and be there in case anybody has a breakdown and needs somebody on the spot to make sure that they have somebody that makes sure they get help that day. And otherwise, it's going to be just a check-in, a buddy check-in, like we used to do buddy checks in the military. And because there's somebody.
Yeah, Nigel, I have a quick question. When you say that, your insanity, do you feel like you want to take your life? Is it driving you to that point to where you just can't handle it anymore because of the encounters and what you're seeing?
Okay, I'm sure he's typing.
Yeah.
We don't want dead air. So let's.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. And he might be in the room talking. Peggy knows how to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for a response. I haven't seen one yet.
Oh,
okay. I don't know. So there's no telling. And like I said, if he wants to be a guest on the show, anybody doesn't have to be, oh, there we go.
Okay.
No, because it was because of others' judgment.
Okay, good. We got to ask because I don't know what position you're in. And you know what? Just because you're a civilian, just because, you're across the waters, doesn't mean that we don't care. Okay. Because we don't want you to be in a position that you're thinking about it. Okay. And so definitely, you see the website, go on there, put your information in. I know that Peggy or our IT guy will get back with you and set up anything that you need to do on talking with somebody. Okay. Oh, does Europe have a suicide hotline? That's a good question. I don't even know that.
Now, here's a question that I don't know, and maybe Peggy knows this, but does the military have a suicide hotline for vets who are overseas?
Yes.
Okay.
Honestly, yes. I don't know. I thought 988 was for all Americans.
988 is for veterans.
For veterans.
And that works universal.
Yeah, I think they've taken the 988 and extended it to like every suicide group.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's coming up 988 for Europe as well.
Yeah.
Mike just looked it up. So
Oh, okay.
that works.
That's our IT Mike. So Nigel, definitely do that because I'm really curious because we're nosy. We want to hear your story. And like I said, it's not judging or anything like that. It's just giving you time to let it out, I guess, and be in a safe environment. And, maybe you can come to a place by sharing that you can have that moment of clarity and you could go, oh, okay, and be just fine and maybe even have fun with it. I have sightings every night. Actually, I've heard about things like that. So, yeah, you're not alone. Let's put it that way. Okay.
But aren't we told we're not alone in the universe anyway?
No, I meant there's others that are like him. Oh, okay, yeah, you're true to that.
But
kind of wordplay on me.
With that vein, we're not alone from what we hear. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So,
ladies, we're just at over an hour.
Yes.
Didn't know how long y'all wanted to go tonight. I wanted to let you know and let everybody know that I put up the website for the best calls so they can get the Zoom link for when we have it. It'll be at noon Central Time on the third Saturday of the month.
Well, I know Andrew's gone.
Andrew's in the restroom. I can hear him. He's on his way back. But he still has to do his wood.
Yes, I would like to stick around, have him finish, and then do closing thoughts.
Yes.
How does that sound? And are you going to be here to do that, Peggy, or are you leaving?
I'll be here. You just tell me you could pop me in, or I'll just pop in when you tell me to.
Yeah. We'll tell you to pop in, or you could just pop in anytime. That doesn't bother me. You could be popcorn. I don't care. The enforcer, the popcorn. And we need to come up with a nickname for Andrew. He's the only one that doesn't have a nickname.
Actually, he does. His nickname is The Bit because he's a bacon bit.
That's even my Google account.
Yeah, he's The Bit.
The bacon bit. So
I'm
Andrew,
bacon. He's a bacon bit. Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna have to put that on there. You know that, right? When you sign in now.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's got a nickname.
Do I have to get a new logo too?
Yeah,
yes.
You know how to do them. You're big at them. You're a computer nerd.
And somebody just popped in here. I don't want to say your name wrong. Yeah. Thank you.
Hecate, thank you, honey. We love you. That's Edgar, Granny.
Oh, hey Edgar, how you doing? So hey, sorry, I am so late. What did I miss? A whole lot. We've been through a whole lot.
But we have one more piece though that he can tune into because this whole show is shoulda, coulda, wouldas, or however you want to do it alphabetically. But we've hit everything, but we still have one more. And Andrew, you still have your would haves. So what are your would haves when it comes to your dad?
A lot of my would haves involve me catching on to the signs that he gave me for all those nights that I spent with him. And had I known that he didn't tell you at all, I would have went to you immediately.
Mm-hmm.
If it meant saving my dad, I would have went to you.
Mm-hmm.
So another one of my would-haves is also trying to make sure my grades were, because once again, I said earlier, I was terrible at school.
No. You need to rephrase that. You weren't terrible at school. You were lazy. When it came to school, now that you've actually applied yourself, your grades are half decent. Difference.
Yes.
It's all in how we see it, kiddo.
Yeah.
And then we believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Take it from this old gal. So, yeah. Because if you put it in a negative, it'll keep you trapped there. But if you can be honest and look at it like, well, actually, I'm not that bad. I was just being lazy, and I can change that.
Yeah. And I mean, I did
There
instantly.
you go. There
Yep.
you go. And that's the positive, see?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thing.
Mhm.
Any other
Yeah.
things on the would have?
No, I think I covered all that I need. She covered the rest, so yeah.
Okay, sounds
I
good.
think this was a really good topic for episode number 2.
Mhm.
And it gave the three of us an opportunity to kind of give, and even LA too, that, what you would have
Mm-hmm.
done and how the experiences are very, very similar, but how they're also very, very different.
Yeah.
Even my experience with Andrew, mine is different than his
Yeah.
because he found his dad. I didn't see anything after he walked out the door.
You were an hour away, so when
Yeah,
I found him.
I didn't see anything. So there's a lot of differences that even he and I have. So hearing these differences and hearing it from a different generational perspective is probably a really good way for us to continue this
Mhm.
conversation. And that stigma, I will just tell you that I had to have a very stern conversation with my father-in-law because he was like, well, there's a stigma. And I basically told him, I said, you're perpetuating it and I'm trying to stop it.
Mhm.
And that was in April. And I mean, at that point, my husband had only been gone for 4 months, but I had a mission. So I know military has a mission. My mission is this. I don't want anyone else to be included in this group. And unfortunately, 22 families go through this a day. And they start this journey every day. Or
They
what is
changed
it?
the number.
Okay.
It's 44, but it's bigger than that.
Oh, I'm sure it is gigantic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because they only count 2 ways of suicide. Yeah.
So
That's our Veterans Affairs office. Great at work.
I don't want anyone to be included in those numbers. I don't want
No.
any families to go through this on a daily basis. And I know that
Oh.
we've gone through excruciating pain, but I am actually watching a friend go through this on Facebook and seeing the pain and the anguish. And I remember feeling that pain and that anguish. And it's brutal. So I don't want anyone else to go through this. I want
No.
these vets and these active duty people to get the help, do what they need to do to be here for tomorrow.
Exactly, because you don't want to put your family through all of this. You think that you're doing your family a favor by leaving them when you're actually destroying them.
Yes.
And they will have, first off, you'll never ever forget what happened.
No.
That will be
Never.
in their brain. It'll be passed on to the next generation, not necessarily the acts. Okay, let me get that a little bit more
But it's
straight.
a generational curse.
Yes. And so it will carry on that such and such way back when killed himself. And boy, did they have to go through it. And then the stigma will build right back up and it'll be a hush hush. We don't share that. We don't talk about that. We don't ask questions.
And Lisa, let me tell you that in my husband's family, his sister and his brother did not find out how he died until May, and he died in December. His best friend didn't find out until April when I told them. And I don't know what other family members on his side don't know how he died. I don't know. And that's a scary thing.
Yeah, because you just the stigma of and then okay, let me put it to you this way. Even though it is not contagious, okay?
It's not.
We're not contagious, okay? We're not a disease. But
Definitely.
you would think by other people's reactions towards the leftovers that you will pass it on to them. Or you will be, if you're a woman, and it's a friend that's married. If they are insecure with their marriage, they will end up, because they'll say, "Oh, if you need anything, just call on me and I'll come over and fix it. I'll take a look at it. It's no problem." And as soon as you do one time, it's going to change the relationship with your friends because
I'll be honest, I always took that as satire.
Mhm. It is. It's really difficult. So never ever, if you're a widow, never ever ask a married couple man, never ask the man. Always ask the wife first, because then you're giving her permission to say yes or no if he's available. If she feels like she's in control over the situation, then most likely you'll get the help without any of the drama.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a pain. You would think you should be able to talk to the husband, but you don't cross that line. There is a definite line. And so always go through the wife.
Go to them as a couple
Yes.
and let them handle it.
Yeah.
And then they'll get back with you. So
Yeah.
So,
May I
but
chime in?
Yes, please
go for it.
Okay, I just arrived at my destination, and I just wanted to thank you for your bravery and for being able to speak out about this and speak your truth. And to all of the people that are perhaps in the audience or here in this room, I know that getting help can be tedious. There is a mental health crisis right now. I'm very aware of it. I have so many clients, I can't even help them all. So even though it is tedious, reach out to somebody, be vulnerable with someone. It takes two sometimes to get things done, right? Two heads are better than one. So if you are struggling, please get help. And please seek out support from a loved one, a family member, a trusted friend, your clergy, the VA, anyone that you think would be willing to listen. Sometimes all you have to do is get it off our chest, right? So I have to sign off right now, but I just want to thank you so much for your message, and am available by phone if you need any assistance. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know what, LA, I know it was cutting into your schedule and private life schedule. So thank you so much for being willing to be here. Has a security blanket for us. And so knowing that kept us warm and safe. And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the night.
You too.
Bye, LA.
Bye.
Bye.
So
Okay.
we're sitting at 1 hour and 18 minutes. And I think, too, that we probably should sign off because we don't want to give all of our secrets away for the next episodes, because there is going to
Absolutely
be
not.
one episode a month for 12 months. And it'll be the second Friday of each month. Now, December, we might have a little bit of a tweak, depending, but we will let everybody know if anything needs to be adjusted. But please share the show with your friends. Please encourage people to join in the discussion and in the chats. And it doesn't matter where they live around the world.
Right. Also, tell them about how to get into the website or page of Leftovers to like and share and ask questions.
Yes. So we have a group on Facebook, and it's called The Leftovers Afterwards, just because there's a couple other leftovers that are out there, like TV shows and stuff. If you go in there, you're going to see the logo that's in the top right-hand corner here. That is actually the banner on our Facebook page. Go ahead and join that. That's a great way to reach out to us. There is a chat that's in there. If you've got questions, if you want to do a private chat, people are available to talk. I know I have a full-time job, so if I don't get back with you right away, it's only because I'm busy working on something. But I want you guys to have part in that. And actually, if you go to facebook.com/groups/ the leftovers afterwards, it should take you immediately over there as well. So just go ahead and take advantage of that when you can. And it's definitely worth it. And share it with your friends. Post it on your Facebook. Share it with your military friends. Share it with their families, because you never know who's going to need it later. So please do.
And Peggy is also a part of that group, so she does check over there, her and her husband. So you can reach out through Vets Chatting with Granny Lisa. You can check out with Vets Coming Clean, and you can check out with Leftovers afterwards, but it's called Leftovers. And so any final thoughts before we go, gang?
I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And for anyone who's watching the replay, thank you. Please share. We can't stop the stigma and get our message out if you don't share. And we need all of you to help to keep people here, because we need them here today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
Yep, I think that pretty much sums it. Peggy, anything to add that we missed?
Just going to share with everybody our upcoming mess calls once again. Remember, if you know somebody that needs help, let them know about our calls and tell them about them. If y'all don't have anything else, I will take us out.
Peggy, take us out.
Right.
Bye.
Have a good night, everyone.
Why do I scream so many days without my love? I ain't the same. I know that God don't make mistakes, but why did you leave? Why did I stay? You were so loved, you were they fame. You were so loved, you were so great. You were legend. Who would have thought that I would be here and you would be gone? Stains on my face from the tears that I shed. Holes in my lungs from the blood that you bled.
Well, this could be on the actual yard. Yeah. For sure. I want to be proud of them.
So many questions that shoot through my head. Why are you gone? Why are you gone? Wait, can you please slow down? Am I a million miles from where you are right now? You try to figure it all out. Tomorrow still remains behind the clothes. Stains on my face from the tears that I shed. Holes in my lungs from the blood that you bled. So many questions that shoot through my head. Why are you gone? Why are you gone? Stains on my face from the tears that I shed. So many questions shoot through my head.